Hey, what's up guys? It's Tibbs, and before we start this video, I just want to wish you and your families a safe and healthy springtime. As you know, the virus has been spiraling out of control. I just learned my city has over 300 cases now. But if you're ever feeling down, please remember that all things come to an end. The question is, are you prepared for the next chapter?
And now you dare enter my realm. You are not prepared.
5 months ago, I tweeted that I had a big story to break on classic TBC. The following month, in early January, I let out another teaser about World of Warcraft's first expansion. Since then, however, I've been relatively silent about the topic for reasons I won't discuss. However, the wait is finally over. Earlier today, Blizzard Entertainment released a survey to some members of the community gauging interest in classic TBC. More specifically, the company presented options asking how we would like to see our vanilla characters continue their journey into Outlands. Publications and content creators alike have taken the survey as an indirect confirmation that classic TBC is in development. And while all information on the subject should be considered speculation until an official announcement from Blizzard, I'm pretty damn certain this is the case, and has been for months. Word first reached my ears about Classic TBC's development last September, nearly 1 month after Classic's launch. The information came in the form of a rumor from one of my sources who claimed the TBC project had already been greenlit by Blizzard and that public hiring for the project would begin in October, only 1 month later. For your reference, this is the same source that helped me break the No Changes story in February 2018, 9 months before Blizzard stated they were going with a no changes approach, and the same source that told me Classic WoW's exact release date 4 months before it was announced. Classic WoW will presumably release sometime in the summer. My guess is August 27th, so that's around 7 months away. This person is no longer affiliated with Blizzard, and as with all speculation, please take this with a grain of salt. According to the rumor, Blizzard had approached Classic with a mindset that TBC and Wrath servers were a likely possibility. As a result, the methodology used to downport Classic from the retail client was specifically designed to be replicable for later expansions. If Blizzard later determined that there was sufficient demand for TBC and Wrath, they could easily pursue those projects without having to start each one from scratch. Well, according to the sources of this story, the colossal number of character reservations that took place prior to Classic's launch was what catalyzed Blizzard's greenlighting of Classic TBC, but I personally couldn't confirm this. Allegedly, Blizzard's plan was to shift some members of the Classic team over to the TBC project once Classic servers had stabilized in September. I just want to say this one more time, guys. This story is not coming from an official employee. It's coming from a secondhand source. But I do want you guys to know something when it comes to my methodology. Usually when someone comes to me with supposed insider information asking me to make a video, I smile and nod while thinking to myself, this is complete But in this case, I do trust the source, not only because they've been reliable with information in the past, but because they gave me a very specific detail in their story that ended up being verifiably correct. The hirings. In October 2019, a mysterious set of Classic WoW job listings appeared on the Blizzard careers page exactly as the source had claimed. The listings included the positions of Software Engineer Intern, Software Engineer, and Senior Software Engineer, all designated for WoW Classic. When I first saw these listings come up, I couldn't help but ask myself, why would Blizzard be hiring so many positions for Classic WoW when the game had already launched? It's like hiring extra busboys for the graveyard shift. It just doesn't make any sense. If anything, a prudent company would be looking to scale down the team after they had passed the project's most crucial milestone. This question is what led me down a rabbit hole that ultimately concluded with me believing my source wholeheartedly. Classic TBC, in my opinion, is and has been in development. So buckle up, Neo. It's time to see how deep the rabbit hole goes. Our descent begins at the job listings that were posted in October last year, a little over a month after Classic WoW had launched. The three listings were Senior Software Engineer, Classic WoW, Software Engineer, Classic WoW, and Software Engineer Intern, Classic WoW. What immediately stuck out to me about these listings was that this was actually the second time Blizzard posted these same positions. The first time was in November 2017, right after the Classic WoW reveal at BlizzCon. To see if these positions were actually related to TBC or just reposts of previous listings and thus inconsequential, I turned to the Wayback Machine to dig up the old posts. What I found was pretty shocking. Just like their 2017 counterparts, the October 2019 listings were titled Software Engineer, WoW Classic. However, unlike the 2017 version, the job descriptions were notably altered. As an example, I've pulled up both the Senior Software Engineer WoW Classic positions from 2017 and 2019. Here's how they read, starting from the 2017 version. Travel back in time to a World of Warcraft before the mists of Pandaria parted and before Deathwing broke the world, when Blackrock Mountain, the Temple of Ahn'Qiraj, and the floating citadel of Naxxramas were the most difficult challenges in Azeroth. The World of Warcraft team is working on bringing that world back to our players with Classic WoW, and we need engineers to help us bring the past into the present. Now the 2019 version, which reads as follows. The World of Warcraft team would like to expand our efforts to restore the past and explore the future by hiring additional engineers. We have a series of upcoming content unlocks we need to support, and our efforts won't stop there. Notice how the terminology differs between the two. The 2017 description explicitly defines the scope of the project by citing the names of familiar vanilla content as part of the scope. It mentions Blackrock Mountain, Ahn'Qiraj, etc. Additionally, the original job description makes no mention of the future or future projects. It's clearly a job description to restore vanilla and only vanilla. The 2019 listing, however, is far more ambiguous, does not cite any vanilla assets, and does mention the desire to explore the future, whatever that means. Same position, two totally different descriptions. By comparing these two job listings, it's clear to me that these aren't for the same game. Blizzard appeared to be recruiting for future classic content beyond vanilla. Now here's the crazy part. These job listings are still open 6 months later. I can tell you that most listings on that website are pulled usually within 1 or 2 months max. The only time they stay open longer than that is if they're a single listing for multiple of the same position, multiple senior software engineers, multiple software engineers, etc. Blizzard doesn't separate those listings one at a time, they combine them all into a single job post. Assuming that's the case here, I have to ask another question. Why would Blizzard be hiring multiple software engineers, multiple interns, and multiple seniors for a game that's already here? They're not. They're hiring for a game that is yet to come out. Or maybe even games?
Let them come. Frostmourne hungers.
Not convinced? Well, there's more. In an interview with Forbes magazine last May, president of Blizzard Entertainment J. Allen Brack told us that TBC and Wrath servers were likely. To paraphrase his words, Jab stated that if Classic were wildly successful, then Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King servers would likely follow. So let's answer the question. Has Classic WoW been a success by Blizzard standards? Yes, it has been, and not because I say so, but because they've already told us. In Activision Blizzard's Q3 2019 earnings report, company executives had a lot to say about WoW Classic. Here are some quotes I pulled from the transcript dated November 7th.
Firstly, we're more than delighted with the early results for World of Warcraft Classic. The phenomenal response to World of Warcraft Classic in the quarter illustrates the vast potential and enduring PO of our fully owned franchises. Classic brought millions of players back to the game. World of Warcraft reach almost doubled sequentially in Q3 as both existing and prior players embraced the arrival of WoW Classic. In Q3, Blizzard added more monthly and longer-term subscription plans than in any prior quarter. The World of Warcraft Classic launch in August drove a record quarterly increase in subscription plans, with the player base remaining elevated into Q4.
There it is, from the mouth of Activision Blizzard themselves. Classic WoW is a wild success. So for to go by the words of J. Allen Brack, president of Blizzard Entertainment, TBC, and even Wrath of the Lich King servers are on their way. I think this is a reasonable assumption, especially when you consider that, like Vanilla, TBC and Wrath retain a mythical status in the World of Warcraft community. Their release would arguably be just as hype as Classic WoW, potentially even more so. If you're a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate like Activision Blizzard, you can't leave this opportunity on the table. And World of Warcraft executive producer John Haidt seems to agree. I spoke to John back in May of 2019 about the possibility of additional legacy servers, and here's what he had to say. Have the conversations at least started about potentially something beyond Burning Crusade, Wrath?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, and we're going to watch our player community super closely, so be sure to let us know what you and your communities believe is the right way to go. But we have it up our sleeve. We can always do that.
Exciting.
We're open to those options.
I'm sure just by you saying that, it's going to make a lot of people happy. Yet another executive on board with the idea of classic expansions. With president, executive producer, and game director all clearly on the same page, and with the C-suite at ATVI acknowledging Classic's success, I think it's safe to say that TBC and Wrath are widely approved of at Blizzard. So much so that Hearthstone's latest expansion, Ashes of Outlands, revolves around the Burning Crusade. Its deck features notable TBC lore characters such as Illidan, Lady Vashj, and the Demon Hunters, a heavy-handed callback to WoW's glory days. We've seen Blizzard employ this form of cross-promotion in the past, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Hearthstone expansion theme was selected on the sole basis of priming their audience for a classic TBC launch. We have an unofficial Blizzard insider claiming TBC is in development, 6 months of job listings alluding to its development, the entire WoW executive team expressing their openness to its development, Warcraft's sister game hinting at its development, and now an explicit survey asking the community to give feedback on its development. Guys, nothing is certain in this life, but this is as close as it gets. Barring any kind of catastrophe, classic TBC is in development and has been in development for the past 6 months. And in my opinion, Wrath of the Lich King will soon follow. Guys, I'm going to take a break from my script for just 1 second. That's a sentence I never thought I would say. I remember just a few years before Classic WoW launched, it was like totally hopeless. In the community, nobody ever thought Vanilla was going to come back. And it did. And now here we are, what, 6-7 months later, after Vanilla WoW launches, and we're talking about the prospect of Classic TBC and Classic Wrath of the Lich King. It's absolutely insane, and for all the crap that Blizzard gets, a lot of it's deserved, to be honest, it's nice to know that they still have some diamonds in the rough, so just want to give a big shout out to them. This conversation isn't over, guys. It's just beginning. We may know that TBC is coming, but the nature of its release is still largely unknown. When is it coming? How will content rollout look like? What patch will they use? What does TBC's arrival mean for Classic Vanilla? These are questions that I'd like to explore together as a community. If you're interested in supplying feedback about Classic TBC, join the Discord linked below. I've made a custom TBC channel specifically designed to encourage discourse on the game's development. While I can't promise much, I will do my best to make sure your feedback gets into the right hands. Looking forward to seeing your ideas. But that's it for me, fellas. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, sub it up and stick around because we got more coming. For the latest on all things classic TBC, you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/tipsoutbaby. That's where I broke the story originally, so make sure to follow me on Twitter just to stay updated on all that stuff. Also, real quick, before I forget, I have a major announcement coming soon, guys. Like, really big, and I'm very excited for it. I'll try to get it out as soon as possible, but I expect somewhere between the range of 3 to 4 weeks. But I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, have a wonderful day, fellas. Keep those comms clear. And as always, tips out, baby.